Hey, welcome to Socialism for All. Today's date is March 31st, 2021. And in this video, we're going to take a look at a video that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez posted either to Twitter or Instagram. I saw it on Twitter about the immigration situation in the U.S., which I found kind of bizarre, and many others are. If you like this video, please click the like and the subscribe buttons and consider supporting us on Patreon. Link to Patreon is in the video description. So let's play the video first. I don't know if she was like drunk or something when she made this, but I found this super bizarre. Basically, she is asked a very innocuous question, which is, hey, you used to talk more, at least in that questioner's opinion, about the border situation and kids in cages. Why don't you talk about that as much? AOC goes on an incredibly snotty rant, saying lots of left buzzwords, and doesn't actually answer the question. Let's listen.
Are you for real? So let's talk about this because so much of our national conversation, which is not a conversation about immigration, is driven by people who could not care less about immigrants. Often people want to say, why aren't you talking about the border crisis? Or why aren't you talking about it in this way? Well, we're talking about it. They just don't like how we're talking about it because it's not a border crisis. It's an imperialism crisis. It's a climate crisis. It's a trade crisis. And also, it's a carceral crisis because, as I have already said, even during this term and this president, our immigration system is based and designed on our carceral system. Those are some of the problems. What about the solution? Well, number one, our solutions need to be rooted in foreign policy because our interventionist history in foreign policy and history over decades of destabilizing regions drive people to. But people don't want to have that conversation. Secondly, let's talk about the climate crisis because the U.S. has disproportionately contributed to the total amount of emissions that is causing a planetary climate crisis right now. But who is bearing the brunt of that? It's actually not us. We help create the problem, but disproportionately, it's the global South. It's South Asia, it's Latin America that are going to be experiencing the floods, wildfires, and droughts in a disproportionate way, which ding, ding, ding has already started a migration crisis.
Okay, now that you've seen the whole thing, I'm going to run it again and just pause a few times with some commentary. I think she didn't answer the question at all. And honestly, that was so grating. And, she's only 2 years into this gig of like pretending to be a socialist in the U.S. Congress. If this is going to be her, tone going forward, I think she's going to burn out super fast, and this is going to get real fucking old real quick. It's good for us actual socialists, though, pointing this out because we can, this is the fake left that they're offering you. And I think that the more that we point this out, the better for us. Here we go.
Are you for real?
Okay, well, I can't speak for the person who asked that question, but I'm for real, and I'll second the question. So the question, if you can't see it clearly on the screen, is why are you not addressing the border crisis and the kids in cages like you used to? So I, S4A, am not an expert on what AOC does or doesn't put on Twitter. This has been a thing on Twitter of like, how liberals would talk about kids in cages when it was about Trump. And then as soon as they're in power, it's like everybody hushes up. Now, if that was not the case with AOC, why didn't she just say, actually, I am. I'm sorry you missed it. Here are some tweets, etc. Or, if she hadn't been, she could have just given like a reasonable explanation for that. Instead, she goes into this bizarre buzzword-laden rant. But maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. Anyway, her response here of zooming in weirdly close on her face and saying, are you for real? You make $175,000 as a congressperson. You're accountable to your people, and they deserve more than gibberish. Okay? So, again, I don't know the answer to this question. I don't know if she is, and if she's not, I don't know what the answer is. But she could have just given a straight answer. Already, this is a very defensive tone, a very sarcastic tone, a very obnoxious tone. Continuing.
So let's talk about this because so much of our national conversation, which is not a conversation about immigration, is driven by people who could not care less about immigrants.
Okay, so two things in that clip. First, I don't know what the conversation is not a conversation means. There's just a lot of very odd body language in this as well. Like, honestly, was there a substance involved in the making of this video? But also, this is her beginning of answering the question. That really has nothing to do. I mean, you want to say that the conversation around immigration is being driven by people who don't care about immigration. Are you insinuating that the person who asked that question doesn't care? Because it sounds more like an accountability issue for you. Like they're asking you a question of why aren't you talking about it as much? And then she immediately doesn't address that at all and pivots to, but what about the right wing who doesn't care about immigrants? Well, okay, that's not the question though. So immediately we're shirking responsibility and not answering the question.
Often people want to say, why aren't you talking about the border crisis? Or why aren't you talking about it in this way? Well, we're talking about it. They just don't like how we're talking about it because it's not a border crisis. It's an imperialism crisis.
Okay, again, not the question. The question was about you seeming to drop a topic that you had run on. That's the question. Biden's in office. They've used the progressives who were stupid, gullible enough to vote for the Democratic Party. Please, if you've done this, stop doing it. And I'll stop calling you stupid and gullible. Please, abandon the Democratic Party. They will only hurt you. Period. Period. Done. It's a party of capital for capital. They're not going to do anything for you. So AOC is now starting to do what she does best of dropping in lots of buzzwords and using left terms. Oh, it's an imperialism crisis. What the fuck? That's not the question. The question was, you're not talking, and she's like, we are talking about it. Let's continue, but I don't think she is talking about it. And if she is, she didn't make the case here at all.
Climate crisis, it's a trade crisis. And also, it's a carceral crisis because as I have already said, even during this term and this president,
what is going on with the camera here? What's going on with the finger on the forehead? Bizarre, distracting, and all intended to, these are like circus tactics of like trying to just divert your attention. This is extremely crude attempts at redirecting your attention and focus. Answer the fucking question. Imagine if they did this on cable news. Is this the future? Somebody gets asked a hard question that they think the answer is going to be embarrassing. So they start fucking zooming the camera in and out real fast and like holding it at like wacky angles and doing all this weird body language and making these faces. The whole thing, it's uploading right now. I just did a much longer video. This video might actually hit the channel before the other one I did. But I did another video just today about how cocky and arrogant AOC was in her recent interview with DSA about how people criticizing Biden from the left are, quote, privileged. And the whole thing just reeks of her being high and mighty and sarcastic and sneering at everyone who wants more than this crappy, like, weak sauce reform effort is going to give them. And it's more of the same. And like I said, she's 2 years into this. This is going to burn out so fast. It's pure cringe what she's doing here. It really just gets worse between now and the end of the video. And she hasn't said a damn word. She just, at least in response to the question, which is about the frequency of her talking about it. And then the irony here of her saying that, well, people just don't like the way we're talking about it. You're not talking about it. You didn't answer the question. Continuing.
Immigration system is based and designed on our carceral system. Those are some of the problems. What about the solution? Well, number one, our solutions need to be rooted in foreign policy, because our interventionist history in foreign policy and history over decades of destabilizing regions drive people. But people don't want to have that conversation. Secondly, let's talk about the climate crisis.
Okay, before we get on to the climate crisis now, this is what AOC does best. It's not about the quality of your tweets. It's not about the quality of your Instagram postings or these like live videos or whatever. It's about what are you doing as a politician and, supposedly this progressive left force within the thoroughly captured Democratic Party. The Democratic Party exists to stop socialism. The Republicans, they, as I like to say, they are the opposition. The Democratic Party, in a way, is worse. They're the competition. They're why we can't even build an organization. If we built an organization, the Republicans obviously would oppose it. They're the opposition. The Democrats keep co-opting socialists into their fucking liberal cause. And AOC is like the new face of that effort for the younger generation. All these boomer dinosaurs are, nobody's listening to them anymore. They're going to be dying off soon. So they're bringing in the new blood. And AOC is part of that charge. She's part of the new face of the, quote, left side of the empire. And she's just, so this is what she does when threatened. This is the defense maneuver here, is she goes on Twitter or she makes one of these videos throwing out a bunch of like left cred buzzwords like, oh, it's actually an imperial. Okay, but the question was, what have you been doing about it? Why haven't you been talking about it? You ran on abolishing ICE. How's that going? And she doesn't want to talk about it. So she's just like, aha, let me just, dazzle you with some fancy footwork here on the lingo, and boom, and like, let me put my finger on my face and like zoom the camera out a bunch of times, and boom, it's done. No, you haven't done anything. The emperor has no clothes. We see right through what you're doing. Let's finish the video.
Because the U.S. has disproportionately contributed to the total amount of emissions that is causing a planetary climate crisis right now. But who is bearing the brunt of that? Disproportionately, it's actually not us. We help create the problem, but disproportionately, it's the global South. It's South Asia, it's Latin America that are going to be experiencing the floods, wildfires, and droughts in a disproportionate way, which, ding, 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 has already started a migration crisis.
Okay, nice, essay question answer. What are you doing about it? That didn't have anything to do with what you were being asked. And if you, the viewer, were satisfied by what she said, I'm going to ask you why. Because what did she say that actually convinced you that she was doing anything about it? It was just a let's win a Twitter debate answer, is what that was. The Democratic Party is a party in crisis. It is a faction within a system in crisis. Empire is in crisis. They're putting people like AOC out in front to try to distract us from our proper political goals. Our proper political goals are socialist revolution, ending capitalism. That's what we need to organize for, not electing a handful of progressives to the House. It doesn't matter. We need to organize for the revolution. That's it. If you aim lower, you're shorting yourself and you are playing right into their hands. This is what they want. They want you to settle for AOC. They want you to be satisfied with the gaslighting that AOC does fucking every time she talks. We've done several videos now on AOC, and I don't follow her regularly. This stuff actually drops into my lap. It's, like I said, this is the new face of empire. It's a system in crisis. This is how they're responding to it. We as socialists, listen, it might sound ridiculous, me sitting here saying organize for the revolution, because that's what you've been conditioned to think about it. Every day that you don't spend organizing towards that is a day that just passed with capitalism going along without increased opposition, organized opposition to it. If you want capitalism to end, there's only one thing you can do: organize for it to end. If you elect more Democrats, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get promises, and then when they don't follow through on the promises and you ask them about it, you're going to get these shitty, obnoxious, defensive, gaslighting videos by people who are making $175,000 a year and wagging their finger at you. What do you think? Leave a comment. Thanks for watching. And that's the video. Thanks to our current patrons whose names are on the screen. If you'd like to get your name on the screen or just support us financially, you can go to patreon.com/socialism for all and sign up for a monthly donation. You can also follow us at facebook.com/socialism, the number for all. Used to have a page at FOR all, and it got throttled to death by Zuck. Here on YouTube, please click the like button, subscribe button, and the notifications bell. Please leave a comment if you can, and please share our video wherever you're online, your Twitter feed, your Discord servers, Reddit subs, etc. All of that helps more people to see this content, whether it's in the YouTube algorithm or just posting it on other sites. All of that's helpful. All of you out there supporting and promoting this content makes it all go that much more smoothly. We need to end capitalism, normalize talking about socialism today, and it's really kind of our only hope for a better tomorrow. Thanks for all you do, and we will catch you in the next video.